By profession, I'm a database administrator. So currently, I work for a company which manages commercial and military and government databases.
You then had this kiosk for a while, right, at the Mall of America. And what was that about? Why did you do that?
It kept my dad busy, so that was the initiation of that business. I thought it would be good to keep some sense of normality, in his life. That he has a set schedule. He wakes up in the morning, goes to work, that kind of thing. We basically lost some money in the business, and we basically closed the door. And a couple of months later, an FBI agent comes to the door. And I was in the shower, and Huma's all panicked. She's like, "Oh, there's an FBI agent on the door. The FBI agent on the door." I'm like, "What? You're crazy!" I'm like, "No way."
I answer the door, and there's this guy, introduces himself. I don't remember his name, with a badge, and says, "I work for the FBI." And and I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yes, I do." And I was like, okay, well then when I saw this serious look on his face, I thought, okay, it's not too funny, and I kind of, peered from the side, and it looked like the car was a little authentic as well. So I thought, okay. So I just closed the door and went to my husband, screaming in the shower, trying to get him out, telling him, there's FBI on the door. And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, that's what he says he is." And he's like, "Yeah, all right," really funny. I mean, seriously, we thought it was like a punked thing, like someone's going to come out with cameras and things, and it's going to be something weird.
He then said, "Can I come in?" I'm like, "What is this about?" And he said, "It's basically nothing. It's your father left a cell phone at the mall, and the mall security got a little alarmed, and they contacted us. So we're just tying up loose ends." I'm like, "You do know my dad is a 70-year-old individual. It's not a big shocker that he forgot his cell phone someplace." So I thought it was pretty silly.
Now, Huma is going to have a slightly different view
Oh
of
yeah,
all this.
she was upset.
I was not happy. I mean, when it happened at that time, I didn't really know what he was there for. I seriously thought, because of the way the things were happening in the neighborhood, I seriously thought a neighbor complained and this is what happened. So when Najam actually told me that this has to do with the booth at the mall, and I was like, seriously? I couldn't even connect the two together, and I was like, no, I'm sure this is something else. And I was like, and I'm trying to question him. I was like, what happened at the mall? He's like, I don't know. And we were just in a big confusion. But then, after you showed us these reports, and with my father-in-law.
So then he asked for his employment records, and then he asked. He asked about me as to when I moved in, and I could see a big, thick folder in his hand with my name on it. So I'm like, "You have the file in your hand. I mean, I don't know why you're asking me these questions." But one question that took me completely off guard is he asked me if I knew anybody in Afghanistan, which I thought was hilarious.
Do you?
No, I don't, and never been there. When he asked me that question, you have to understand that I haven't even been to Pakistan for I think 14 years. And so anyways, I told him no. I laughably said no. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody on the western area of Pakistan either. He said, "Do you know anybody who is involved in terrorism activities?" Which was offending in many ways, but so I had to bite my lip on that one. I was fairly furious about that one, but I laughed it off.
And what did you say?
I basically said no, and he didn't pry further.
We felt violated in the sense that, you come into our home, you ask us these questions, and you have really no proof about anything. I feel like because of our faith or the way we dress, we get questioned like this. So
that was obviously deeply disturbing. I guess because he was calling me a terrorist, I guess, right?
And after the FBI agent left, he gave you a card, right?
Yep, he gave me a card, and he said, "If you have any problems or if you ever need something, call me." And I said, "I won't." I said, "I won't need it." I think he was implying that if you know of any anti-American activities, going on, call me.
If you hear about any terrorism,
Yes,
give me a call.
right. Huma was a bit upset, to say the least. She's like, why was he here? This would never happen in Europe. You know, I've lived in Europe all my life, this and that. Why does this happen? I'm like, it's okay. I'm like, calm down. He went away. It's not a big deal. But she was fairly upset over it.
To me, it's just lack of respect. I grew up in the Middle East, and then I went and I lived in London for 3 years, right? Never have I been treated like that in either country.
A security officer has never come to your house before to grill a member of your family.
Never. No way. Oh my God, forget that. I've never been stopped at an airport. I have been to Saudi Arabia. I have been to Kuwait. I have been to Qatar. I have been to Italy. I've been to Turkey. I have never been stopped for any reasoning. But in the US of America, I have been stopped every single time I scan through those doors, whether it beeps or it doesn't beep. Whether it beeps or it doesn't beep. I have always been taken into a room. So you tell me, then how am I supposed to react when people just show up at our door and they want to ask us how many people we know in Afghanistan and all that stuff? So me for certain, I've lost faith in the system. You know, there is no system. It's racism in the sense that just because we're of a different faith, of a different culture, they feel the need to harass us and interrogate us.
Do you want the Mall of America to be a safe place? Do you want security people there to look out for suspicious people who might be planning a terrorist attack?
The Mall of America is a huge place. There's no doubt. It's one of the places where you have the biggest turnout because it is, you know, an international place to go to. But you need to train your people, you know. Don't put incompetent people out there who just don't know what they're doing. You know, I mean, seriously, the number of people who went through all this with these reports and the number of hours you put together and the dollars that you spent on all this, seriously, it's a waste of money.
If the system is going to work properly, you need to put competent people that you listen to, so who report up the chain, right? And then they can truly follow up on actual incidences.
2 coolers and a stroller were left near one of the tables. Our cell phone was also left on top of the table. I assisted in setting up a perimeter, as is our procedure. While maintaining the perimeter, I noticed that a male approached Officer Cassie and was gesturing towards the table and the items. The male later identified himself as Salim Akhtar Qureshi. He was explaining that he wanted to get his cell phone from the table. Right. So again, and why is this so curious, suspicious? I don't understand why that would be like so suspicious, and why would we have to get so much investigation done on it? Throughout the interview, Qureshi had a nervous demeanor. Qureshi moved around a lot when answering questions. At one point, he moved to his kiosk and proceeded to take items off the 2 shelves just to switch them around. After many of his answers, he would end with the phrase, "That's the whole story." He seemed to get agitated at points when I would ask for more detail. He would mumble a lot or talk fast or quietly. Qureshi would try to change the direction of the conversation when the topic became more about his personal life. The way my father-in-law behaved here is the way I would expect him to behave with a stranger and with family even. That's how he is. That's totally how he is. He's been diagnosed with depression and a little bit dementia and all that. The mumbling and the going off topic and randomly, changing whatever he was doing or walking around and all that stuff. I mean, that started at that time, but we didn't really know what was going on with him. But he got diagnosed recently with all that.
What they're doing in this report is very clear that they're basically targeting these folks for their national origin. There's no way that you can point anything else in this report that says that he was suspicious by any measure. And we should not be harassing normal, nice individuals. This is not the price that we should have to pay. People should have their rights. I don't want the United States to be a police state. Let's put it that way, where we have to look over our shoulder and say, if I pick up the phone, is the FBI listening to me? That would just be that. No, I don't want this country to be that. No. we have relaxed our values. That's the part that's rattled me. That's the part that surprised me. That I didn't think that we could so easily give up who we are as Americans. I think America is a free country where everybody has the freedom to live however you want to. And I think we to a certain extent are starting to relax that very definition. That the law enforcement agencies can come without reason to your home and interrogate you. And the thing that further worries me is that most of the people are comfortable with it. And that surprises me. You know, the majority of the people say, yep, it's okay, no, not a problem. That's the part that surprises me. You have to realize that, you know, what we have achieved in this country took us a long time to achieve, right? I mean, you look at the United States history, it's not all pleasant. What we are here today is due to a lot of sacrifice of a lot of people over a period of time. And same thing goes with basic human rights and civil rights in this country. A lot of people basically fought, right? Literally. And there's certain things that we take for granted in this country, which a lot of the people, majority of the countries outside of the United States and some other countries don't have the privilege. And I think it's something that we should protect dearly. If people in the United States quietly continue to accept the wrong, then the wrong will become the norm. And that is not acceptable. I mean, that's very much true for a lot of other countries, right? I can't imagine that people accepted that to begin with, right? I mean, the wrong slowly became the norm, and now it became to an intolerant level in a lot of the other countries. I don't think so we want to go down that road.